You perhaps have noticed the photos over the years. I'm thinking back with President Clinton and then President Bush. They'd go out for their jogs, and when they went out for their jog, they were followed by about a dozen Secret Service following behind them. President Obama, not so much, but I guess basketball games is what the Secret Service are involved with there. It seems to be his hobby. But it was the Secret Service running with the president to do their job, to protect him, to make sure he was out there okay. I use that example not to compare the presidency to God. Don't make that connection. But for this, in the Old Testament, particularly in the Scriptures, justice and righteousness are seen as the same thing. Justice comes from being righteous, and that means in the Scriptures walking in right relationship with God. Not God walking with us. There's a difference. It's not the president jogging with the Secret Service. It's the Secret Service jogging with the president. You can see the difference in there. And so it is in the spiritual life. We're called to live our day-to-day lives walking in right relationship with the Lord. And in order to do that, we need to be aware of the Lord's presence in our lives. And we need to seek to live our lives as He's called us to, as His children. And as those who have been baptized, we've been configured to Christ in such a way that we're called to live nothing less than as other Christs in our world. So that when other people encounter us in our daily lives, they're encountering Christ in some way, the very ordinary ways of our lives. To be other Christs, it can't be all about us. Like Susanna, our eyes need to be looking towards the Lord at all times. He needs to be the center of our lives. The problem with the elders in the first reading, well, there's a few problems with the elders in the first reading, but one of the problems with the elders in the first reading is the same as the people who come to Jesus, the Pharisees, in the gospel. Their focus is not on heaven, is not on God, is not on being loving examples of the Lord. Their focus is on themselves. They have no interest in justice or righteousness and what it's about. They have some need that they need to be fulfilled. Some selfishness, sin that they're trying to take care of. They have no interest in righteousness or in justice. And even we hear that in the Pharisees, they're using, in both cases, the Pharisees and the elders are using righteousness and justice to set a trap to get what they want. And the real crime in this, in the scriptural sense, is the hypocrisy and is corrupting God's ways to gain for their own selves. We sometimes stumble in that, perhaps not to the extremes, hopefully not in the extremes that we hear about in the scriptures today. But there are times in our lives that we make ourselves the center, that we corrupt God's ways, that we justify ourselves by twisting righteousness and justice to our concepts, our views of how things are being. And when we do that, we fall to those temptations. We become drained spiritually. We aren't fulfilling or giving us life. We become burdened and frustrated. And that becomes a sign that it's been all about us. The good news is the Lord always calls out to us as He called out to the woman in the gospel, I do not condemn you. Go and from now on, sin no more. And He gives us the sacraments, the encounters with Him that we need to stay in those ways of righteousness, to remain focused on Him in our day-to-day lives. Being holy isn't spending 24/7 in the church. Being holy is living in love with the God who first loved us and desires us and gives us the graces we need to live each and every day walking with Him.